So we'll continue talking and working through Unit 4, chemical reactions and quantities, still more focusing now on the chemical reactions part, okay? We are going to look at this, and we have basically there's 5 or 6 different types of chemical reactions. There are combination reactions that are also called synthesis reactions. So combination reactions, combining something is one way. Synthesis reactions, and the RXN is another means of writing that a little bit shorter. Instead of writing reactions out fully, we just write a lot of times. I've seen a lot of chemistry teachers, myself included, write RXN as just a shorthand way of writing reaction. Okay. As you can see, where the superscripts that we see here, those are the units that we're going to focus on. Those ones on that type of reaction. Then we have a decomposition reaction, which means something is decomposing. All right. We have single replacement redox reactions. So single replacement reactions, or redox or redox reactions. So there is a little bit of, we'll go through that, and but that's more of something that we'll look at more specifically in Unit 5. What we'll look at for single replacement reactions and these double replacement reactions are more of a predicting. How do we get the product from that type of reaction is what we'll be looking at more specifically. We start some of these reactions that we're looking at in this unit. Some of them have a predictable outcome, and therefore we will have asked to predict said outcome. The other one is a complete oxidation or burning of organic compounds, and that one is a very, very, very predictable outcome, especially if it's a complete oxidation or a complete burning over the organic compounds. And so that's going to help us out a little bit. Begin the predicting process of what is going to come from it. And I think you will find it might seem a little scary, but it is something that is, I think, very easily. We do, after you kind of see why we do some of them. If it is a reaction that does not have a nice, predictable, this always happens outcome, I'm not going to ask that you have it memorized or are able to predict what the outcomes are unless we have covered them. And that's why we have them in different units. Synthesis or combination reactions involve 2 or more species. So again, a combination or synthesis reactions would be what we could also look at it as. Synthesis reactions involve 2 or more species combining to form one product. The general formula, and a lot of these are going to have general formulas. General formulas are wonderful things to put on a test when you have multiple choice questions, because you can have, say, of these general formulas, which one is a synthesis reaction or which one is a combination reaction. And you have to be able to identify, based on the general reaction, that you have 2 things making one thing. Now, the general formulas, though sometimes maybe have a symbol that is similar to that or the same as a symbol on the periodic table, that does not mean it is that element and or compound. Okay? especially when we got the here. Really what you're looking at is you have two things on the reactant side producing, making, synthesizing one thing on the other, a new compound. Now sometimes it can be an element and a compound making a new compound. It could be two elements making a new compound. But the big thing is that there's nothing else over on the product side. There's only one thing being produced in a synthesis reaction. So here is an example of a few synthesis reactions, of which none of these really have a nice predictable. Sometimes because of how they come together, it might not be as predictable as we might think it is, but it is something that we work with, and that's why, again, if they had a nice way to, like, oh, when this happens, they combine and form this compound. It's not always that way. It is sometimes just through experience do you learn some of this. So when it comes to these synthesis reactions, this is one, actually the top one is one that we've seen in the classroom before, and that's that we have hydrogen gas mixing with or combining with oxygen to form water, and that's more specifically water vapor. Kind of the hydrogen balloon. Very violent explosion. Your product is just water. If you've ever cut into a onion and wondered why your tears are flowing like rain, it is because of the sulfur trioxide mixing with the water in your eyes to make a very, very dilute solution of sulfuric acid, and that's what it's trying to do, is your eyes are watering to get rid of that acid or anything that's an irritant in your eye. Some of us in the, or at least we're in our area of the country, probably have this currently affecting our vehicles at this time, especially after some of the snowfalls that happen and the salt that gets put down. You have iron mixing with oxygen to form iron 3 oxide, or more commonly referred to as rust. So these are 3 examples of reactions that you see in your everyday life, but they may or may not be as predictable when you just look at them without that there. And so how do you know that it makes the iron 3 oxide? Experience. And that's why, at least in my classroom, usually most synthesis reactions, I'm not going to ask that you do them. The more you see, then maybe we kind of get into that, but usually it's not that way. So I'm going to resize these because we need to balance them out. As we can see in the first one here, 2 oxygen and 1 oxygen, it's not balanced, so we need to do it. So we need to practice some balancing chemical reactions again. And we're going to balance them with these ones here. We have our reactants, our products, and we got our tombstone there. One nice thing about synthesis reactions is usually you're limited by what you have in present. Sometimes they can be also trickier because there is so little there, so you can't kind of use things to kind of help balance out other things. But nevertheless, we have hydrogen and oxygen. Now, we have 2 and 2, which is really nice. And then we have a 2 and a 1. Now, this one, we know anything that I do to balance out the oxygen here is going to affect that hydrogen there. But that's okay. Why? They're by themselves over here, and that's really nice for us. So, easiest thing to do, or most suggested might be starting out. The only place I can start out is by putting a 2 in front of our water vapor. That means I have 2 oxygen. I have 2 times 2, which gives me 4 hydrogen. Now, my oxygen are now balanced, but my hydrogen are not. However, I can easily put a 2 in front of my hydrogen on my reactant side, and because 2 times 2 is 4, my hydrogen balance out. All right, let's look at the next one. And that would be sulfur trioxide, then mixing with water. So I have sulfur, I have an oxygen, and I have a hydrogen. I'm not going to use I'm not going to rewrite my oxygen in my chart because I've already written it for the other one. So now I go through and I count what I have present. I have 1 sulfur on the reactant side, 1 sulfur on the product side. I have 3 plus 1, which gives me 4. And then I also have 4 on the product side, as it's attached to the sulfate ion. My hydrogen is 2 and 2, and lo and behold, it's already balanced for us. Yay! But sometimes if we didn't look at it, or you might be able to kind of look at it and count beforehand, but it is kind of there. So let's go on to the next one here. Oh, do a little more erasing. Okay. Now let's look at our rust. Ooh, let's pick a good fun color for rust. Good rusty color. And so let's go with iron and oxygen. It's pretty simple. There's only a couple things. You're like, all right. Well, we go from having 1 on iron on the reactant side to having 2 on the product. I have 2 oxygen on the reactant side and 3 on the product. So here becomes kind of the problem, is that we look at this and we go, oh my gosh, what do I do? Right? I can't do this anymore. I don't know where to start. Remember, it doesn't matter where you start as long as you start. Now, one of the things that I'm going to suggest that we look at when we start, because a lot of people will want to start with the iron, right? We want to start with the iron because it's by itself. That's one possibility. However, at the end of it all, whatever I put in front of here is going to affect what I end up putting there. So if I balance out my oxygen first, which is, I know, weird, I will have what number a number in front of here, which will be easily transposed to the iron on the other side. Sometimes there is a easier path. Sometimes there isn't, and you just kind of have to muddle through it. But this one is one of those ones where oxygen first is kind of maybe the preferred. And so we see that it's a 2 and a 3. Least common multiple between 2 and 3, 6. What do I have to multiply 3 by to get 6? 2. So, change my numbers, because 2 times 2 is 4, and 2 times 3 is 6. Now, I can see what I need to do to my oxygen, because 3 times 2 is 6. The oxygen's balanced, and I'm left with 4 and a 1. So to balance it out, I use a 4. Not a bad, and it's not a bad practice to get into. Can I reduce this down? Well, let's look. 4 could be reduced by 2, so that's a possibility. But if I divide everything by 2, I would get 3 halves. Well, that's 1 and 1/2, and that just doesn't work out very well, does it? That's kind of a fraction. And, well, we don't like fractions very much. And we can't do that. Or it would be, so it just doesn't work. So this one is in its lowest possible way. It is in its lowest possible orientation.